exposing Japan TikTok lies, episode 2. This is something that I touched on the last episode, but I wanted to touch on it again because honestly I feel that it's very important. We talked about the do Japan hates tourist situation, and I briefly mentioned on the language barrier. So let's just disperse one of the lies, which is Japanese hate immigrants. Well, that's not the case. Japanese people are very, very welcoming, very polite, and yes, before you start typing, no, the Japanese are just hypocritical and they hide their feelings, and yes, they do that. But don't tell me that the Waffle House co-worker that calls you sweetie is actually like excited, you know, to serve you a sweet ass tea at 3 a.m. when she's like dead ass tired. No, like everyone has to put up a face when you're dealing with customer service, is when you interact with them on a deeper level that the colors start to show. And I was able to see that. Now, there's this narrative on TikTok that Japanese are very hypocritical and they just hate people from other countries, especially brown people like me. But honestly, that is not the case. And there's one particular example that I wanted to bring up. When I went to Narita, there was this tiny store that, here it is. There's a tiny store that sold a lot of goodies. And as you can see, there's an elderly man right there. Now, why do I bring him up? Because I think he's the clear example of like how Japanese people actually get to remember a immigrant by an immigrant being good to them. That's literally it. Because there's this thing in TikTok when they talk about, oh, the Japanese looked at me weird. The Japanese gave me those dagger eyes of don't come in here and stuff like that. Yeah, I get those too. And I got those in various cities, in various establishments of like, oh shit, fuck, I don't want you here. I really don't want you here. But let's talk about this elderly man right here. Is there something that you can notice about the picture? If not, let me zoom in real quick. There's a Mexican flag right there. You see it? Now, this gentleman had a sign up outside of his shop that said, "Do not take pictures." But I asked him in Japanese if it was okay if I took a picture, because I saw the Mexican flag and I said, "Oh, Mexico." And he said, "Yes, Mexico." And I said, "Oh, I'm Mexican." He's like, "Really? I love Mexicans." And we started talking about Mexicans and Mexico and how he loved Mexican people because they were very friendly, very happy and everything. And even some other Mexicans gave him a poncho and a luchador mask that he kept as like fortune, like his own little like omamoris or fortune amulets. And that's the thing. A lot of people say, oh, they don't want you here because you feel it. They look at you. And whenever you approach them, they give you the fake, oh yeah, ohayo gozaimasu. But they don't actually like you there. Well, no, that's not the case. They're nervous because they don't know how to interact with someone. Like, wouldn't you be fucking nervous if someone that doesn't speak your language came out of nowhere and you're now supposed to like interact with them? You're like, oh shit, what do I do? Like, and you don't want to be like playing charades all the time, you know? That's pretty uncomfortable. So every time that I encounter those dagger eyes, that kind of rejection that everyone and their fucking grandmother on TikTok are talking about, I felt that. it switched immediately after I said a couple of things in Japanese. And I'm not talking about just like konnichiwa, arigato gozaimasu and stuff like that. But like, you know, I've put in a little bit of effort to learn a couple of phrases. Like for example, when I went to this store, actually, one second, I'm back. I went to this store that they sold chopsticks. These chopsticks were handmade and hand painted. And when I went in, there was this elderly lady who really did not like me there. She was really, really like suspicious of me. And her daughter was there. So I started with simple conversation, you know, konnichiwa. Well, at the time it was a little evening, so konbawa. And the daughter said like, oh, you speak a little Japanese? And this is one of the phrases that I know. I understand a little. 少しわかります. And then I tried to make conversation with the very, very little that I know. And trust me, I do not know a lot. But the moment I said, お箸おすすめなんですか? Which kind of roughly translates to, what is your recommendation with chopsticks for me? So, 私からお箸おすすめなんですか? And that's when the entire situation changed, because that's not necessarily a typical tourist phrase, but osusume nan desu ka? It's like the best icebreaker that you can use, which is, what is your recommendation? Osusume nan desu ka? And she started going off, and like she tried even getting her phone to like translate a couple of things, and she was so happy helping me with chopsticks. And this are the chopsticks that she recommended for me. This one's right here. And they have my name engraved. She personalized them. And then I was like, oh, my name is Ivan. What is your name? Her name was Sakura. I said, oh, what a pretty name. I love sakura trees. And then I saw the mom having this like nod of approval, like, yeah, you're cool. And then the mom came over and started like talking and everything. And again, I could not understand like 90% of the things that they were saying, but I was like grasping things here and there. But they were like, oh, let me use my phone to translate a couple of things. Let me use my phone to translate a couple of things. And they were so happy that someone took the time to kind of learn their language a little bit, because they know that Japanese is a very difficult language to learn. Very difficult. But when people try a little bit, it changes their entire perspective. So the half-assed truth to the stupid-ass TikTok bullshit when they talk about, oh, well, they don't like you there and you can feel the tension and everything. Yeah, but did you try? Did you try to talk to them? Did you try to engage in communication? Most likely not. Most likely, you snowflake piece of shit received that little like uncomfortableness or fear from them because they don't know how to communicate. And that's where you stood and like, oh, they don't like me and that's it. But you were an entitled piece of shit that was like, oh, if they don't speak English, I'm not going to. And I'm pretty sure that's not the case, because you're gonna encounter people that they just don't fucking like you. But that happens every fucking day in your life. You're going to encounter every day people that don't like you. I've gotten threats to get beat up in freaking Kroger, you know? Just because I had my little cart and the guy cut me off and I looked at him and I was like, dude, was that fucking necessary? And he was like, oh, I'm gonna beat you up. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go again. So, and I'm not gonna say like that guy was racist. I'm just saying like he was a grumpy old man that I could have broken his knee or just the wind because he was so fragile, but he was so cranky that day, you know? So this whole notion about Japan being so xenophobic and so hating on foreigners, that's not the case. just talk a little. You know, before you go, just know that they don't speak English. A lot of them don't speak English. Yes, you're going to encounter a lot of English speaker Japanese people when you go to the major tourist areas. Yes, like freaking Shibuya. Everyone most likely is going to know the basic English to interact with you. But if you go to other places where you're most likely going to encounter this type of situations, well, it's going to be good if you just spend like 3 months learning basic phrases and just try. That's it. Just try. Stupid ass people.